Marco,
Sean.
do you remember that moment?
Yeah. I think about it all the time.
It's top of mind for you?
Yep. Can't
That,
stop.
that entry level moment where you made your first step into the world of cybersecurity
Oh, yeah.
in the form of me dragging you in?
Exactly. That easy because every time I see you, I'm thinking about what have I done? I'm in cybersecurity now.
Sorry, what did I do to myself?
What did I do to myself? But there's people that don't get dragged like me. They actually do want. And don't get me wrong. I love cybersecurity. I wouldn't be doing this if
And
that wasn't the case.
you found your place here too.
But there are some kids out there, even right now, that all they want to get into cybersecurity. They want to do something good. They saw maybe the movie Hacker as well, and they get inspired by that, or they get inspired by a lot of amazing people in the industry. We were actually talking about that before. I'm in Italy right now, and there is a lot of cool hackers here, and you know what? They're all over the world. Mm-hmm. How did they start? That I don't know. I'm not one of them.
That's right. Thankfully, we have Greg and John on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what is the backstory between you two? Like, Sean, did you just call Marco and you're like, you're gonna run this podcast on cybersecurity with me, or?
So you are in cybersecurity now. That's a story for another podcast.
Voluntold. Okay.
That's a story for another podcast.
Yeah, we can. It's a very short story. Basically, we met and I said, "You're helping me with some stuff here." So there you go. I dragged him to RSA conference, and that was the end of it.
Nice.
And so yeah, I mean, I personally started writing software and then securing software and then working for a security company, building security products, and which is probably not what most folks do. I think I did a lot of what you guys train on, but specifically for a company building stuff, not companies trying to protect their stuff.
Okay.
But I guess the point Mark was making, and I think I'll jump on, is with so much in the world of tech and so much in the world of business processes and so much in the world of trying to find your place in a place that can be mysterious at times when we look at cybersecurity. I think it's difficult for folks to find a way in. Much harder these days than perhaps 10, 15 years ago or more when I started. But and I think that's where you two come together and help individuals and then ultimately organizations trying to find the right folks to help them protect their businesses with getting the skills and the training they need to be successful and actually get good outcomes. And we're going to talk a bit about that. But first, maybe for folks who didn't hear our last podcast, Greg and John, maybe a few words from each of you about your role with White Knight Labs, and then Greg, I'll come back to you for an overview of what your team does, big picture wise. So I'll start with you, Greg. Go to John. Your short version of your personal story, and then we'll get into the company.
I was born on a Tuesday in the year 1987.
I knew you were going to go there.
You old man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on.
No. So really abbreviated my backstory. Army Special Operations. I was a Green Beret for 7 years, 4 combat deployments to the Middle East. Got out in 2017. Went right into offensive cyber, worked at a couple of different shops. The first shop I worked at, I met John, who he's on the podcast. He's now my business partner. We got to break a bunch of cool tech while working at that company. Around 2020, we both left that company and I went over to another boutique offensive shop. I was mostly a defense contractor, like being lent out to CISA as a red team lead, and then also teaching Windows at the NSA. So then a little bit after that, John called me. He's like, "Hey, I'm sick of all these consultancies like charging exorbitant day rates for like putting someone that has like no experience on the keyboard behind the scenes. So let's start a company and like kind of turn this paradigm on its head." So that's how WKL was born.
Nice. That was good. I liked it. Just called you up one day. Hey, let's go be business partners. I love it. It's good stuff. Yeah. All right, guys. John Stigerwalt here. So I have an interesting background. Nice and short. Just a hacker. Started at 17. Just love breaking stuff. Went to college, dropped out. Didn't really teach me about hacking. I learned how to write a memo and how to create a resume. So it was really good stuff. So I took that resume learning skills and I applied for an IT help desk position, and I got it. And that was the start of my career path. Started from the bottom of the barrel, started working up, junior sysadmin, security lead, play a little bit of CISO, did all the compliance you can possibly talk about, SOC 2 Type 2, FedRAMP. Worked with the VA, did all the type of stuff. Got burned out pretty fast. I had a small team, and I left and took a pay cut to go to be a pen tester. And then I just found my calling. I love breaking in stuff, and love the virtual barriers that you just get around. And it was easy, really easy, especially back in like 2016, 17, 18, 19. The world was just like churning along with pen testing, right? Things were like the Wild Wild West. I mean, we're still there, but it's a little bit better. So met Greg at VDA, did a lot of cool jobs. So, for example, I was part of the Octagon project for Microsoft for a whole year. Got to work out with kernel 0 days, really cool, on the Windows 10 operating system. So did a lot of really unique jobs. Left, went to F-Secure, ran the US Red Team alongside with the EU. We tested 2 of the Fortune 10s, 2019 and 20, and were highly successful. So we basically said, you know what, we can do this better. And that was kind of the true birth of White Knight Labs. So called Greg up. We got our first job, and I remember he still had his check in his wallet from many, many years ago. So held on to that baby for a long time.
Do you still have it, Greg?
I don't, unfortunately. No.
You know what? Here's what I want to start with this, because if people haven't figured it out, we're going to talk about entry level pen testing and how you get in the industry and the program that you guys have. But looking back at both your story, is it different now, the way that the new generation of hackers and pen tester, they enter in the industry? I mean, it's not the 80s, it's not the 90s, it's not the 2000 either. I mean, we're aging ourselves, but the difference, maybe, Greg, that you see in the new folks coming in.
When John and I were getting into hacking, you could probably have one certification, not have a blog, not have private tooling developed, and you could probably get a job at a shop. Nowadays, when we're interviewing, we're looking for multiple advanced certifications. The person usually has a blog. They have their own GitHub for their private tooling. The expectations have gone through the roof. So this is just WKL, and if you want to work at a boutique offensive cybersecurity consultancy. So I recommend maybe starting the blue team, like work in a SOC for a bit, watch what attacks actually look like, so that you could write rules to stop those attacks, or go work as a software developer or sysadmin. That way, when you do go to the offensive side, you're bringing all these other capabilities with you, as opposed to just saying, I have the OSCP. You would say, hey, I'm really good with native code, or I know .NET inside and out. I can write loaders like nobody's business. But we're definitely looking for other things than just a single certification at this point.
And so I think, there's a lot of question around certification versus experience, and whether or not certification is going to be experience driven or experience rooted, if you will. So what are your thoughts on, because I think the other thing from, I'll say, back in the days, it seemed safer. I think there was always a risk of doing something illegal, but it seems safer now. I think there are many more eyes on things these days, and poking around and playing around and looking at how things work and reverse engineering them and trying to break into things can perhaps be not as easy as it was in the past. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the barrier to entry, especially with all the protections in the Windows 10 operating or the Windows 11 operating system, and just EDR is getting better. Like these AI next gen tools, they're getting a lot better. So even when we're doing internal penetration tests that are just on the network at WKL, we have to bypass EDR a lot of the time. We have to find really like kind of disingenuous Active Directory escalations. It's definitely not press the pwn button like it used to be. It used to be like, 5 years ago, we would just be like, enumerate GPP, get like a local admin password. It would be reused because no one has implemented labs, and then you're off to the races. So we don't see that anymore.
Yeah, and a lot of those easy first steps gave you the opportunity to explore, which I think is important. So let's go kind of the big picture of White Knight Labs
Mm-hmm.
and what your mission is as an organization. Big picture. I know you guys do a lot of things from pen test to training as well. So, kind of
Mm-hmm.
what's the objective? What's the mission and vision there?
Yeah, so the entire reason we started WKL in the first place is because there was a problem in the industry where these boutique shops are paying or like charging their clients an arm and a leg and then putting someone that has no skills behind the scenes on the keyboard. So we wanted to break that paradigm and charge like an average day rate, but then put an exceptional engineer on the keyboard. So we only hire the best, top 1% of engineers. I would say senior and principal level. And the culture here is very similar to how like an Army Special Forces ODA, Operational Detachment Alpha, operates. Within that 12-person ODA, there's teams within that 12-man team, right? There's the medics, there's the weapon specialists, there's the explosive specialists. So for instance, I was a communicator. 18 Echo means like communication sergeant. So nipper, sipper, routing, switching, handling cryptography, all those things. That's what I did. I went very deep in that lane. So when we went around to building out WKL, we're like, okay, the embedded team is going to do embedded work. They're not going to be like the part-time network penetration tester. They're not going to do like a little bit of AppSec over here. They're just going to do embedded work and be really, really good at it. So when we're interviewing people, a red flag is that they have certifications that are all over the place. Like they do a little bit of embedded, then they have the OSWE, and then like, maybe they have fill in the blank with whatever other certification. And then their experiences all over the place too. So at WKL, typically our engineers do one thing. So
What are your thoughts on? Because I think Marco and I talk about this in the context of technology and innovation and driving business outcomes where it one thing on its own may be super powerful, but it's the connection of multiple things that open up the real opportunity, real potential. So how do you as White Knight Labs then bring the right people together to kind of look at that big picture? So
yep.
marrying the expertise, deep expertise in one element or module, let's say, connected to many others in a full system that actually, um, if popped, has
Yeah.
all the goodness.
Yeah. It's quite serendipitous. I was just talking about this with a partner earlier today. So, for instance, say we're doing an engagement that starts from an embedded device like a pacemaker, for example. Say that pacemaker talks over Bluetooth to a mobile application or a tablet. I know that sounds really scary, but it does happen. And then that tablet then talks to a cloud backend to like shoot all the data from the actual pacemaker. So you have the hardware and the firmware of the pacemaker. Then you have to attack that Bluetooth protocol. Then you have the mobile application, all of the code that runs that, all that dynamic testing has to happen. And then you have whatever connection that is to the cloud backend. So what we would do at WKL, we would bring in multiple people for that engagement. We would have the embedded engineer for the firmware and the actual hardware, and then we'd have an AppSec person to handle all of the mobile and secure code review for that. And then we would have one of our cloud experts like Shirag Savla or Ronak Parmar handling the cloud piece. So that way we have coverage on the engagement. We're going very deep on that full tech stack.
Very
And
cool, John. I want to bring John back because he's
No, Greg
there.
was doing so good.
I know you're there, and we were both listening, and it's great. But we need to make a room back into the game. So you guys offer a lot of training, and but today we decided to talk about the entry level pen tester, and I know you're very passionate about that, John. So I want to know why you decided, you and Greg, to actually focus on that. I know you love to talk about hands-on and not just theoretical. And so even the first step for people to get a certification at an entry level, it seems to me maybe the first step, it is the most important of all. So want to pick your
No, I
brain on
agree.
that.
Nope, that's good. Yeah, that's very good. We just had a call with the team about this today, and I had to give like a really passionate speech on like why we're even building this. So super cool. So I'll give the same speech here.
Yep.
So we decided when we first started doing training, we were building training for the expert or advanced level, which is true today. Most of our courses are all built around expert, advanced, or intermediate and higher, right? That is our job. That's what we've done. We've stuck true to that. We have 4 courses today. that are just advanced level. Now the goal was to build some courses that are more towards entry level. And that's kind of where the birth of the ELPT came into, which is the entry level penetration tester. And the question is, well, there's so many entry level penetration testers out there. Why even build one, right? The problem is, I look at a consultant or an engineer on our team, and sure, they all come in with OSCP, certified red team operator or certified red team expert, the AD courses. Nothing. They have to spend thousands of dollars just to get to a junior pen tester level. And I think that's a little bit unfair, and that's how it was for me as well. Though I love offensive security. I love how everything works together. But the OSCP and the OSCE got me my first job, and I will always be grateful to offensive security. But in my opinion, offensive security is slacking today. That's my absolute truth. I think they're not hyper current, and that's what makes us a little bit different. My goal was to build a certification where I can have an entry level person come in, take my certification course, pass the certification, and I would give them a junior pen tester job. That's my absolute goal. I want them to be so well rounded that they know we're going to cover report writing, communication with clients. We're going to cover everything from the intros to building your own Linux box to external pen testing to web application, to the OSI, model basics, networking, subnetting. I want them to know everything coming in, everything that a junior pen tester should know, and they should be able to operate freely with my team. Be able to handle just the basic, getting domain admin, cracking passwords and hashes, all that kind of stuff. And that's the goal. And the other biggest thing that drives me nuts is what's the cost of an OSCP today? 17, 1800. That's just for 30 days. My cert we marketed at $500 USD. I want my training available all across the world to anybody for a cheap, reasonable price. And they'll get more content than you would ever get with TCM, offensive security. It doesn't matter, any of the certs.
So, John, you're saying you're going to follow the SANS model?
No, no. We're not going to charge $8,000 for a certification. Oh, that's ridiculous. But the goal is to give them a massive amount of content, something that they can follow. They run their own labs. We're not hiding anything secret here. There's no lab extensions they pay for. They pay for their own labs. They can build it, run it through, and they all get one exam retake. And there's a community behind them, a community of students that are already ready to ask questions, ready to take these certification exams. And we actually just talked about it today, and we're going to start putting it in place, but we're going to start offering a minimum requirement. So if you live in a different country, or I would say a third world country, I'm not sure how to word it correctly, but we will offer a lower rate for the ELPT so others can take it, not just based on the USD, but based where your region's at. So there will be a minimum, but we're still in discussions on that, but that will eventually come down the road as well. So basically pay on your region.
Yeah. No, I love it. And entry level pricing is super helpful, right? To kind of remove that barrier for folks.
Yep.
I want to talk about, maybe if we need to, we can talk more about the pricing, but I want to talk about the makeup of the program, because you said the goal is that you hire them after they get the certification, or you could hire them, right? They'd be ready to take on a job. And you touched on one thing that stuck out to me, that I think we touched on this in the last podcast as well. The idea of report writing, right?
Yep.
It's not just finding the weakness and clapping your own hand, giving yourself a pat on the back, and knowing that you accomplished that particular step. It's understanding what it is, why it is, where it is in the organization, why it matters to them, writing that up in a way that helps them determine how and if and when they should address it, right?
Exactly.
And I suspect also being part of a bigger team, like Greg said, if there are multiple players looking at an integrated system, their role within that team as well. So talk to me about how you accomplish that. What does the training look like? How do you set them up to actually do what they need to do so they can function, not just know stuff, but actually function?
Great question. So actually, one of our service engineers who also works on the training side, I'm not going to disclose their names, brought up today, is like, hey, I've noticed that everybody who comes in this company, and whether it's senior principal, someone lacks something. And it's most likely client communication or some kind of report writing or something. So no other certifications really cover that 100%. I know TCM does some stuff around that, but I'm really looking to drive deep into that there. We're going to, and as you guys know, and you guys have probably seen this, you all can do hack the box. You can do whatever you want, right? Sure, you can find vulnerabilities. But that's only 50% of the job. If you can't report those correctly to the client and give them the proper recommendations or remediations for those findings, it's worthless. You did nothing. You hacked something, but you can't explain what you hacked, and you can't tell them how to fix it either. Hacking is only 50% of the job. You have to be client facing. You have to be able to explain what you did. And that's part of the ELPT as well. Sure, we'll take them through all these crazy attack paths, get domain admin, everybody's gonna have so much fun. But part of the challenge is also learning how to report, how to identify findings, run Nessus, run your Nmap scans. The certification will be based around an external pen test and also an internal pen test with a required report at the end. We'll give them a template to follow off of. We'll teach them how to write critical findings with provided and proof of screenshots, right? Validation, build a risk score. I'm not going to use CVSS 4.0. I think that's bias and crap, in my opinion. We'll do something more custom. So I'll run the PETS model or something different. I'm not sure yet. Still debating on that one. But we're also going to teach them how to communicate with clients, daily touch points, giving clients a professional update. I mean, we've seen this problem with our senior principal staff. They just don't give touch points, or there's just not a professional enough touch point that we're to be sent over to the PM client. Right. So also addressing that in this year as well. That's a huge gap across this industry. We're not touching points with clients and letting them know what's going on, such as dumping the NTDS. We all know that dumping the NTDS could take down a DC, but we still do it anyway. We don't even tell the clients. So that would be something we include in the ELPT. I think it's a great idea. That was brought up today. I was like, yes, I love it. Let's do it. So I think that's phenomenal. We're going to include all that into the certification. And the goal is, yes, I would hire a junior pen tester, but any of our competitors, it doesn't matter, after the certification, should be willing to at least interview these guys. That'd be the absolute goal. That'd be the end goal for me. Like, we're not being proctored. The exam will be hard. It's going to be difficult. I'm not going to make it where anybody could just pass and, just flood of money. That's not the goal here, right? We're going to provide high quality content training. You want to be a junior pen tester? I'll make you a junior pen tester. I'm going to forge you into steel, and then you'll be good to go. That's the end goal.
Yeah. And to be clear, being a junior at WKL is not like being a junior at another shop. We've got our interns are still running engagements by themselves. They're finding multiple escalation paths to domain admin, and yeah, they're kind of freaks actually. So
yeah, you're right. Our junior pen testers are a different breed of people, but they were taught by us. They were taught a certain way to think, and how engagements run and how they should be run. We go for that gold standard, right? And that's how our training is built as well. We want to give the gold standard of training. So
your junior is already a junior plus.
Yeah, junior plus.
Yeah. No,
eventually there'll be an ELPT plus.
I really like the idea that being junior doesn't mean you're limited to do just one thing. It means you're junior, you're learning the basic for the business, and you're giving them the skills to grow on, right? Otherwise, you're making a half pen tester. If that person doesn't know how to deal with reports and explain what they find out, and then you can take the next course or whatever it is. Greg, I'm thinking while I was hearing John, and I know you both have background in the military as well, but coming out from the military where you were doing a lot of different things. A lot of people think when you're in the military, you work in a silos in a way, but actually there is a lot of communication going on to run, those big systems. What do you bring with you that maybe then you guys reapply in the way you train people from what you've learned how to grow while you were on the field?
Yes. So the number one role of a Green Beret when we're deployed is to be a force multiplier. So that means our number one thing that we're doing is teaching. So we deploy to Afghanistan, we're teaching the Afghan local police or the Afghan national police. We deploy to northern Iraq, we're teaching the Kurds. And when we're teaching them, it's typically rifle marksmanship, how to move as a team, how to stay alive while shooting accurately, communicating effectively. So, and then even zooming out a bit, to be a Green Beret, it takes a lot of training. It's about a 2-year pipeline, a little bit longer for me because I recycled small unit tactics due to falling asleep during part of the training. Thanks. Thanks, Army. So it's obviously like physically rigorous, but then you still have to go through SEER school, which stands for Survival, Escape, Resist, Evade, where you have to resist torture. You have to learn how to trap animals, bait animals, things like that. You go through MOS school. So I was an Echo. So learning how radios work, how to make antennas out of like wire essentially. And then the final thing, the final training event is called Robin Sage, where we put it all together. So when we went about to creating WKL's culture, it was like, okay, how do we create like the same culture of a military elite unit, but be in the private sector and everyone actually enjoys working here, right? Like, because we want people to actually enjoy working WKL, but some of our principles, speed, precision, communication. John mentioned the daily update. That's something that's required out of all WKL's engineers. It's, it typically goes to Janelle, our PM, and then she sends it in Slack. It's like, hey, what did we do yesterday? What are we doing today? Are we on schedule? Roadblocks, things like that. So I used to work for General Nagata. He firmly believed in over communication as opposed to under communication. Like, say it, then say it again, then say it a third time if you have to. Yeah. But I think it's working out pretty well so far for the company. We typically 2x or 3x every single year.
You teach them resistant torture?
Yeah, and then like part of the onboarding is, we take them to a swimming pool and we put cinder blocks tied to their feet and throw them in the deep end. And
then I also like a little bit of waterboarding. So
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of waterboarding. So I mean, he likes to let them drown. I just like to drown them with the towel on their face. So.
Oh geez.
Wow, you're really making a good advertisement here. Let's go back to the real world. John, anything that I know you're proud of all of this, but anything you want to add to what Greg said in terms of I think it's hard to take all you've learned into a lifetime and put it in a few days of a course. How do you decide what to put in that course?
Honestly, I'll put too much in there, and then we'll review it, and some will get ripped out. Said no, this will go to a next one. So, we just keep adding it in there. We'll just keep adding content, more content. But we have a plan. So we have a limit. We're only going to do so many modules. I think it's like 15 modules. I think we're at 12 or 13 right now. And when I say modules, those modules are broke up into separate labs. 15 different areas that we're going to cover, right? And that's the basics: building Linux. Your AD your AD environment. What does AD look like? Enumeration, finding ADs and groups, and networking and subnets and IP, and then we talk about web, and then some of the cool things that other entry-level certifications that don't cover, and we've seen with our junior guys or some of our interns, is, hey, we did include a cloud component in here. No one's touching on cloud. Why is no one touching on cloud at all? Because everybody has 365. Everybody has Office 365. Why are we not touching on it? Same thing with Azure. Everybody has Azure. And then also, doing some OPSEC safety, guidelines. Hey, here's your in-packet tooling. Awesome, great. Here's how to modify it or just touch on it a little bit to maybe get around some AV EDR. Obviously, we have an AV EDR course that will link and tie these guys, which is more advanced. But we want to touch on all these different topics. I'm even including a C2 in this course as well, just to give guys experience. Because how many times have I gone to an interview and say, hey, you ever used Cobalt Strike? Yes, I have. But I've been very fortunate. A lot of people haven't, right? The price tag for Cobalt Strike today is what, $6,000, $5,900, first time buy. Most people are never going to have access to it. So, and that's the goal here, right? So we'll touch on a lot of different areas that would make a very well-rounded junior pen tester. So,
and you mentioned, and maybe both of you can comment on this. You mentioned kind of thinking a certain way as you approach this, and I'm thinking of an engagement where it may not be critical time pressure, but certainly you don't want an engagement to run on forever. You have some SLAs. You want to be as efficient and proficient as possible in finding things and reporting against them. And that takes a certain mindset of how far do you go? How far do you take it? You talk about the dump and whether or not you disclose that and the impact it can have. So how do you bring some of that together in the training? I'm assuming you do, to where you help them understand here is your role. Here's how far you take things. Here's the mindset that you should have. Again, as on their own and as part of a bigger team. So the question really is how do you help shape that mindset? Because you also mentioned, Greg, the culture, right, which drives a lot of that as well. what decisions do you make now that drive the next step and the next step that lead you to the ultimate end game with your engagement.
I could take a first stab at that if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So Greg's a big, preacher of this, same as I, is when we talk to a client, and it's some of the wording I've used, Greg uses the same wording, is if I'm talking to an IT manager, how do I cripple that business to the knees? Like, what really makes that business run? Where's the revenue come from, right? Is it your data? Are you selling something? Are you retail, e-commerce, blah, 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 right? Are you consulting like us? So how would I take out your legs, right? How would I make that business no longer run or operate? And that's what I tell my pen testers. So getting domain admin, that's secondary objective. Who cares? I want their data. I want that database, and we'll show that in the report during our attack path. That's what makes us different. We're not stopping at domain admin is never the end goal, right? Stopping where the data lives. They're paying for a pen test. They're paying for what a real live attack looks like. Yeah, we're not being stealthy, sure, but we're going to access contracts. We're going to access PHI, PI, whatever it is. It could be anything, right? So we work with our clients and we tell our pen testers that. Now, when it comes to the ELPT and some of the other advanced certifications, we will relay that message inside that as well. We'll show some sample verbiage of what they would give to a client. Hey, here's domain admin. Now we want you to go to this database and show proof of this. Obviously, you'll redact that information. This is your stopping point, right? We'll make that clear as we possibly can, but as you guys know, every client is so different. I can only teach so much. Everybody's so diverse. So the stopping points will be different per engagement and per your rules of engagement. So we'll make sure that's outlined as well. So, but it's almost impossible to teach stopping points. It's just what feels right, to a degree. Obviously, causing most of our rules of engagement today is no DDoSing, no downtime, no man in the middle, or after hours with approval, et cetera, right? Stuff along those lines.
Greg?
Yeah, and piggybacking on that, communication is really critical here as far as when to stop, because obviously every penetration test, if you're a white hat hacker, there's going to be a time constraint, right? Whereas a black hat hacker can sit there and enumerate and be in the discovery phase for as long as they want to. We have 5, 10, 15 days, maybe if it's a really large internal network penetration test. So on the web app side, if someone finds cross-site scripting, I've worked at a couple of shops where it's enough to just like pop a 1, and that's like, that's reflected cross-site scripting. But at WKL, we need to go much deeper. Like, we want to steal cookies. Like, once we steal cookies, what else can we do? We had a really interesting attack path that Ronick Palmer pulled off recently, where he coupled SSRF and HTML injection together, and then he was able to create a new user in the client's AWS infrastructure. And we stopped the engagement. We were talking to the client, like, hey, this is what happened. This is what he did. By the way, do you want us to keep going and actually do an admin account takeover of your AWS infrastructure through the web app? And they said yes. And he did it. So while attack path, he actually is giving a talk on that exact attack path in La Hack Paris later. I think that's this week or next week. So just keeping the client informed of everything that's going on, all high critical vulnerabilities. Sometimes they're going to want you to keep going with the attack path. Sometimes it's like, oh, nope, you've already shown that you can do it. Let's reel it in a little bit. And that's harder for some engineers than others. You get kind of bloodthirsty, right? You get a taste of the juice and you want to keep going. So
juice is good. John, can you tell me kind of the format of this course, this engagement? How much of it is content available to review? How much of it is it live? How much is it interactive? How much is lab? I don't know. Kind of paint that picture for us. So
yeah, sure.
What they get into.
It's probably going to be 500 pages of gruesome content. No, with some screenshots. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so it's going to be you'll get a lab guide. It's not going to be taught on PDF. It's not going to be taught on PowerPoint, none of that stuff. You'll have individual videos. So this will be on demand, individual videos of each lab walking through independently on how to do it. Very easy. You'll get a PDF lab guide that will be highly detailed, and you should be able to walk through independently from start to finish. It will take you starting out with building your own Kali Linux in AWS. So you'll need an AWS account. You'll build that. Everything should be easily detailed. It's not like, hey, I'm going to give you a small piece, go research on your own. We're going to give you, since it's entry level course, we're going to give you as much as we can to get you off to the races, right? And that will be the format. We'll have scripts. There will be a student portal for this one, I'm pretty sure, since it will be entry level. We usually just give Terraform files and say, hey, go build this, but that's more the advanced style. So I think we will have a portal where students can kind of just click and plug and play. And then there will be an exam for this when students are ready. They can schedule through our website and they'll be able to schedule their exam. And that's honestly automated. I've automated the entire exam part on our side. So if a student wants to cancel, there is no cancellation. I'm sorry. It is completely automated. I understand things come up, but when you schedule your exam, it is running. Docker's kicking off. I'm not canceling.
The beauty of automation. There we go. So there's one thing I know I'm excited for, and we're going to have to work out the timing for this, but you'll both be in Las Vegas for DEF CON. Marco and I'll be there for Black Hat, and we'll probably stay a little bit to connect at DEF CON as well. So I'm hoping we get a chance to actually meet in person, not just on camera here like this. And I want to give you both a chance to maybe a call to action for folks who are in town in Las Vegas that week, the first week of August, exploring the world of hackerdom, if you will, and where they might perhaps find you.
Yeah, sure. So I'll be there. John will be there. Shirag Savla and Ronak Parmar for our cloud team will also be there. Ronak and Shirag will probably be hanging out at the Cloud Village. You might see John and myself at the RTV, the Red Team Village, and just kind of be bopping around DEF CON. We're hosting the DEF CON RTV after party, but it's invite only. So if you're a cool kid, ask us for a ticket.
Yep, and we'll have a booth there and lots of swag. So
Yep.
and we'll be sneaking swag in through the DEF CON, even though we're not allowed. So we'll be. I'll be on.
We didn't hear that. We did not hear that.
Find me for a cool shirt.
Yeah, Sean, Marco, you guys are definitely getting swag. If you drink coffee, you get a Yeti.
Yep, 100%, man. It's gonna be good. So yeah, we'll be doing the Red Team Village, and then we'll be popping around. So if anyone wants to get lunch or hang out, please let us know. Last year I was there, and we did like a table of like 20. So it was a lot of fun. We had a whole bunch of people come in. So we'll buy you guys lunch. We see a lot of students there as well. So please come say hi to us. We love to talk to you guys. Any feedback, any issues you guys run into, please let us know. We're always open ears.
Yeah.
We do listen.
Yeah, great
Very
chance
cool.
to see people in person and have that personal connection as well. We are humans ultimately, even if
I totally forgot. We're teaching 3 courses at DEF CON.
We are. Sorry, yeah. Let's back
man,
up.
I totally forgot about that.
After the conference ends, so John and Jordan J, they're teaching the Advanced Red Team Operations certification course. Me, Munaf, and Manny, one of our SkillBridge interns, we're teaching the ODPC course, which is all about loader development and bypassing EDR. And then Ronak and Shirag are teaching the ASCPC, which is attacking securing CIC pipeline certifications course. So it's a very DevSecOps focused. There's tons of like Kubernetes attacks in there as well.
cool. That's the one I'm going to.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love the AppSec stuff.
Sean is gonna stay.
I know. Now you've hooked me.
He's in.
All right. So they can meet you there that week. They can get the pick one or more. I'm assuming they're running in parallel. So pick one of the 3 the trainings that interest you most.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, when and where can they get their hands on the ELPT training platform?
November of 2025.
November 2025. All right.
Yes.
So
it might get released earlier, but right now we are still in review process and still in dev. So November is the final release date for it. So just had the meeting today and set the timeline in stone. So it should be it's gonna be a blast. It's gonna be awesome.
Nice.
So I'm hoping to see a mass surge of people run into it. So
This is
we'll do
like
a
the
teaser.
exams, man. You gave the day. There's no going back.
That's
You
right.
can't stop
right.
it.
It's
You
automated.
cannot stop it.
Well, we've been pushing it back because we're pretty strict on our content, very strict on our training and how we develop.
Yeah,
so we want to make sure we give the best. So
Of
keep
course.
pushing it back. So there's no more pushback this time. It's going out.
There you go.
Well, I always have so much fun and learn so much by spending some time with you, like 39 minutes. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more, but always a great opportunity to spread the word of what you guys do. And honestly, I just enjoy chatting with you, and that's a big thing for when you do a podcast.
Yeah, same here, guys.
Absolutely. Appreciate you both. And love the work you're doing. And yep, hopefully you get more students and help educate the next generation and keep the current ones up to date as well. Being current and relevant is equally important. So,
Yep.
so thank you both, and everybody listening to this episode. Thanks for joining us for this brand story on ITSP Magazine. Connect with Greg and John directly. Connect with the White Knight Labs team, and we'll link to some resources so you can find them wherever they are and whatever they're up to. So thanks everybody. See
Thanks,
you on
gents.
the next one.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.